Credit card myths. The goals of this presentation are to debunk 3 credit card myths and reinforce 1 credit card fact. This presentation is intended for residents of the United States. If you live outside the United States, I have absolutely no idea whether any of this information is applicable in your country. One goal of this video is to debunk the following 3 credit card myths. Using a credit card means always paying interest. In order to build credit with a credit card, you have to carry a balance. As long as I make my minimum payment, my bank cannot lower my credit limit or close my account. To be absolutely clear, the 3 points above are not true. The other goal of this video is to reinforce awareness of 1 credit card fact. People routinely get themselves into trouble by viewing their available credit as if it were money in the bank that they do not need to pay back. The following is reality, not a myth. If a credit card account has never had a balance transferred to the account, has never had a cash advance from the account, and you always pay the account statement balance by the payment due date, then you will not be charged interest for buying goods and services with a credit card. Once 1 or more of the 3 points above have been violated, explanations become more complicated. I will leave those to future videos. A myth that I hear from time to time is that in order for you to build a credit score with a credit card, you need to carry a balance. In fact, you do not need to carry a balance on a credit card in order to build a credit score. Ideally, you should use your card and pay the statement balance in full by the card's payment due date. That works well for building a credit score. If you are not able to pay in full, I suggest making at least the minimum payment by the payment due date. Please do not carry a balance due to a mistaken belief that doing so is required in order to build a credit score. Not so much an outright myth, but rather that it can come as a surprise that a financial institution can raise your credit limit, lower your credit limit, or close your account. If your account is closed, you will still have to at least continue to make minimum payments. There was the case where JP Chase forgave balances when it closed customers' accounts when Chase left Canada. Those of us in the United States should not expect such fortune. While this slide will touch on an example, that example is intended to illustrate a general tendency, not outright guarantee a specific outcome. All else being equal, a credit card issuer may be more likely to raise your limits when the economy is very strong, lower your limits when the economy is very weak. During the start of the COVID-19 lockdown in the United States, we initially saw credit card issuers tighten lending, but then not long afterwards, credit card issuers undid much of the tightening after enormous government stimulus cushioned the impact of the lockdown on consumers. However, even during the 2008 Great Recession, many consumers who had managed their finances conservatively were granted higher credit limits. Some examples of information lenders use to make such decisions. Lenders, of course, have records of your accounts with that specific lender. Credit card issuers will soft pull their customers' credit reports to see what information other lenders have reported regarding its customers. Equifax subsidiary The Work Number may provide employment information if your employer provides it to The Work Number and you have not requested that The Work Number freeze the information. It is not a myth that if you do not use a credit card in a given amount of time, the issuer might close the account. How long might that given amount of time be? There's no guaranteed answer to that question. I would suggest that at least every 6 months, you put at least a token amount on credit cards that you prefer to keep open. For credit cards that you use often, the payment due dates may be etched into your memory. When you use credit cards whose due dates are not etched as deeply in your memory, be especially careful to pay those. When applying for a job or applying for credit, you may be denied due to reasons beyond your control. Below are points regarding credit cards that you should try to control. Ideally, pay your statement balance in full. If you are unable to pay your statement balance in full, try hard to pay your minimum amount by your due date. I will go into detail on minimum payments in a future video. This presentation may not be enough. A payment return for lack of funds is much, much worse than missing a payment altogether. A credit card fact is that people routinely get themselves into trouble by treating their available credit as money in their bank accounts instead of as credit that they need to pay back. People will be well served if they always, or at least almost always, pay their statement balance in full by their card's due dates. Barring that, try to pay at least your minimum amounts due by your due dates, then get the remainder paid off as quickly as possible. If you find that you are unable to pay your minimum payments by their due dates, then you have needs beyond what my presentations can address. If you remember only one point from this entire video, let it be this. Please do not allow your knowledge of either interest-free grace periods or 0% interest promotional offers to tempt you into spending more than you can easily pay off. If you do find yourself in financial difficulty, proceed with caution regarding anyone claiming to have an easy solution. In my own postal mailbox, I routinely receive marketing materials intended to deceive me into believing claims that are not possible. Those may be the subject of one or more future videos. In this video, I tried to concisely address some common myths regarding credit cards. In the section on interest, I could have expanded on has never had a cash advance from the account to include or had any transactions that code as cash advances. Perhaps buying casino chips would code as a cash advance. Gambling and consuming alcohol are absent from my otherwise formidable list of vices, so determining whether casino chips code as cash advances will have to be an exercise for the reader. This presentation was adapted from my website, therationalconsumer.com. That's a long URL to type, especially on mobile devices, so I've created the URL http://trc.credit that will redirect to the main site, trc.credit, not trc.com, not trc.net, not trc.org, not trc.horse. Actually, http://trc.horse in many browsers' address boxes will get you to my site. If you're on your work network or VPN, it might not like using the trc.credit redirect. In that case, either type the full therationalconsumer.com or use a non-work device. Hopefully people will use this information that I've provided, but I may be running a long con on myself if I think I can actually cause people to disbelieve credit card myths and believe credit card facts.